Welcome everyone to a breaking news security edition. It came to my knowledge the other day already, security channels and so on. Apparently some French activist sitting in, having there some trouble, not to go into too much details, and court cases and stuff, whatever the details might be. Relevant for all of us, apparently his Linux-based Lux full disk encryption was being cracked, so the encrypted laptop seized after the arrest, and material from the encrypted partition has since been entered as evidence against him. And that's obviously relevant not only when we do security research, not that we all would be activists and stuff, because always people was like, why do you care, do you have something to hide? Well, I have my precious data to hide, right? If I lose my USB drive or my laptop is stolen by some state actor, maybe some of my Linux tools and security research, maybe even 0 days and stuff, you wouldn't want some Russian, Chinese, American and so on state actors to get all your precious 0 days data, patches and source code and whatnot. So you don't always need to be an activist or criminal. It's just like, I don't want all my invoices, like sync customer data, right? Could also be a security nightmare, getting in other hands and so on and so on. So obviously we want, like I run full disk encryption for quite a while, and we certainly want the best state-of-the-art industry. So what probably was going on, of course, the French police or whoever, Secret Service and all, whatever the state actors' names might be. However, here are some further thoughts from MJG59th. Note here that I already cross-confirmed and worked on some stuff. So his encrypted password was apparently greater than 20 characters, including mix of case and numbers and punctuation. So the absence of this sort of OPSEC failures implies that even relatively complex passwords can now be brute forced, and they should be transitioned to even more secure passphrases. However, is that all? Let's go with Lux, Linux full disk encryption implementation used nowadays. The actual data is typically encrypted with AES, extremely popular, well-tested encryption algorithm, has no known major weaknesses, at least known to us, maybe to the NSA, and is not considered to be practically brute forceable, at least assuming you have a random key. Unfortunately, it's not really practical to ask a user to type in 128 bits of binary every time they want to unlock their drive. Good luck already remembering your 20 plus characters or multiple words. So another approach has been taken. This is handled using some called key derivation function, or KDF, key derivation function. KDF is a function that takes some input, in this case the user's password, and generates the 128 or wider bit key. It's an extreme simple example that might be MD5, but that is of course collision and stuff insecure since ages. Takes input, generates 128 bit of output, so they can simply MD5 the user's password and use output as an AS key. While this could technically be considered KDF, it would extremely bad, as MD5 calculated extremely quickly, so someone attempted to brute force disk encryption could simply generate an MD5 of every plausible password, probably on a lot of machines in parallel, and like using GPUs. And the data center, right, NSA, Amazon, AWS. So things actually slightly more complicated than this. User password using generate key used to encrypt, decrypt actual encryption key. This is necessary to allow you to change your password without having to re-encrypt your entire drive, instead of simply re-encrypting encryption key and so on, yada yada. Good KDF, key derivation function, reduces the risk of by being what's technically referred to as expensive. Rather than performing one simple calculation to turn a password into a key, they perform a lot of, and with a lot I mean a lot, because I noticed that when I, years ago, where's even further, I noticed that when I set up this, my current external illustration purposes only, SSD on a Microsoft Surface 2 with a Core i7, that key hashed some 10 or 20 seconds or something, It felt already maybe 20 seconds or whatever, and it felt already longish, right? And I noticed already, obviously, moving to Ryzen 2000 and 5000 or Ryzen 7000, it's like what previously took 20 seconds to hash with a lot of calculations, now takes like 2 seconds or so, right? So, a lot of calculations. The number of calculations performed generally configurable. In Looks you can like iterations, 10, 100,000, whatever. I think they have even time like on this machine like 5 seconds or whatever, in order to trade off between amount of security, the number of calculations, like you're waiting on your grub2 boot prompt for 20 seconds, and performance, amount of time you're willing to wait for your laptop to generate the key after you type in your password. And also in grub2 it is usually a little bit slower because they're not using the latest and greatest AVX2 and 512 and stuff, because they don't have support for that in the pre-boot environment. So in these days, Attacker has a pile of GPUs. Pure computational expensive KDF is not as good a choice anymore. And unfortunately, the subject of the story was almost certainly using one of those. Ubuntu 18.04 is using Lux 1. We already moved to Lux 2 here in our one of the most amazing T2 Linuxes. And the story of this video is, of course, I spent already over 2 hours of research prior to this video. This is a quick summary. And so this probably in a minute, testing later. We are actually epic thread ripping through our latest build here. I hope we don't have too many audio dropouts. Welcome everyone. Basically the point is updating the grub2 security, because we are getting to that in a minute, to more than any other Linux distribution are currently offering, because there are some implementation details. So back to the story, Lux 1, of course we're using Lux 2, but when I switched to Lux 2, I already noticed that that wouldn't support with grub2 anymore. And I found already that only supports KDF support in this format, KDF2. This is not a memory expensive KDF, so it's vulnerable to GPU-based attacks. But even so, systems using Lux 2 header format used to default to Argon 2i, again a memory expensive KDF. New versions default to Argon 2ID, which is a memory expensive KDF. Memory meaning you need lots of memory. Do they say that there? What makes this worse is that distributions in general don't update this in any way. Also, in general, I really hate this. I said it previously, my recurring vision and dream of moving to less pre-boot and more microkernel stuff, because the problem is we have more secure algorithms implemented in the Linux kernel and Lux and user space and stuff. The problem is we can't use it today because for years that is not supported in grub2. Amazing stuff, right? Ideally, I would want such small nano microkernel bootloader whole thing that then loads like algorithms only once, and because now we have better security in the Linux kernel but can't boot with it. We will fix it in a second. So, or I actually fixed it already, thanks to other people patches which are not applied upstream. So what you want to do is probably update your system to KDF and make this. I mean, also you, of course, you can use this in, like, if you have your system root slightly encrypted, because now YOLO, who cares about your Debian or T2 system file, and have you, of course, you could have had your home directory or LVM to a logical volume for better encrypted, but spreading awareness, that is the state. So how is this relevant? So it's relevant, do they mention that here? Something, whatever, yada yada. So here's some, probably can paste that, and welcome everyone. So also this is complete pasted, this pile of garbage. So to summarize that, the previous computational expensive algorithms are more easily breakable on embarrassingly parallel GPU farms or server farms. And what the improvement is for new memory, do they call it memory? Expensive algorithms is that, for example, just to hash that, you might need like 800 megabyte of memory, which is what the new Argon 2 ID algorithms require. Thankfully, there have been, and that is a crazy stuff, recurring disappointment here on this channel. Other amazing people have implemented this, like basically copy and pasted and made it compile, like copy and pasted from Lux and other reference implementations. Support for Argon 2 KDF in Lux 2 for grub2 already March 2022, and yet we sit here and people, state actors, break people's, like, regular citizens who worry about the security of data, that it's still not applied for multiple reasons. And so multiple patches here are necessary for this. This is a patch set of 5 or 4, not counting the 0 header, I guess, or is it? So as per usual, so what needs to be done? The algorithms need to be copy and pasted. Unfortunately, in my dream world, we would have only have one, but with this we needed 3 times. Pre-boot, boot environment stuff, Linux kernel and user space for creating it and stuff. And also the crazy thing is, because it is, as we just mentioned, memory intense, right? Turns out you can't even allocate this memory in grub, right? So grub further needs to be tweaked, the memory allocation support in grub, for actually allocating so much memory, because turns out by default grub would currently only allocate a quarter of the pages it got available on EFI subsystems, that on current Kinder some years ago might only be 800 megabyte of memory, assuming your address space is 32 bits. Plenty for most use cases, but not if you're a memory intensive key derivation function. So besides the usual iterations, count known from PBKDF2, Argon 2 introduces 2 additional parameters, memory and parallelism, which later doesn't really matter that much here in this case, but the memory parameter is quite interesting. If encrypting a partition using Lux2 using Argon 2 as KDF, the crypt setup will default to memory parameter of 1 freaking gigabyte. Again, not that much, and that is also an improvement, right? Instead that you can brute forth hundreds of iterations on your GPU and server farm. Now this makes it, of course, vastly more expensive. That, of course, in your one case it doesn't really matter too much, just you have 1 gigabyte. I mean, except it might be slow and you might stare to your Lux full disk encryption boot prompt for some seconds longer. But of course with that, you, like, if you have a 16 or 24 gigabyte GPU, they are only so, like, instead of you can embarrassingly rainbow table correct hundreds, you can only do like 10 or so. So yeah, multiple patches were needed, and this is also why it's not applied, right? It is not applied because changes to memory management, and then of course the usual discussion, is it safe? Like, in this case, I don't like the style, seems to be this might be a typo, yada yada yada. And 3 years later, and that is what makes me depressive, right? People thought about this 3 years ago, patches are available, patches were discussed, and then also at the end, grub maintainer, like, yes, thanks for the proof of concept. According to the earlier discussions, I'm not treating this patch set as a release material. And what I really hate with this stuff is that it takes so long, right? You certainly, like GNU heard, the future is multi-server, multi-server, microkernel, since 20 years, right? And why Linux took over. And also with my patches, right? I send patches to GCC Linux kernels, like, yeah, you know, whatever, doesn't, not our release materials, like, yeah. Things accumulate in our T2 amazing Linux distribution because other people is like, yeah, YOLO, it's not my department, thank you very much. It is really sad. There is a new version 5 of this. I imported the version 5 here via Epic thread wrapping through that with 5.4 gigahertz boost here. We should have results in building Firefox series in 1810, like 4 minutes. I imported all of those patches, and now we need to test this. All right, so the patches are 2 major patches. Basically, what spreading awareness. This is the thing. Like, if you care about your data, you might have your millions of Bitcoin in there, your company secrets, your patents, your source code, all your nightly backup of company finances, and so on, and so forth. Then yeah, that is the thing. 2 new, it's like, yeah, even there, the patches, if you're wondering why we have accumulating so many patches, it's like, yeah, upstream doesn't care about your security. So Lux2, Argon 2 version 4, and this mem stuff accumulated that from the internets of other people. There was also some copyright, right? However, I'd like to merge fixes version of this after release. Has not happened. I checked that, so here is grub core. It's still not in there. It's like, yeah, it is sad. But also, the awareness I was spreading to the Ryzen 5000 Zen 3, YMM register, AVX, whatever, state rollback, right? Still not fixed upstream. People don't care anymore. I said it before, this half-assed thing not covering Zen 3, Ryzen 5000. And now it's forgotten, and currently the only distribution that doesn't have YMM AVX register state corruption on Zen 3 is T2 Linux. That's like, yeah, priorities. So yeah, memory allocation, so grab memory line. We need memory, and we need to test this, right? I've not yet tested this. I basically, the news scrolled by yesterday or so, testing this today. And we need to change our installer. Helps you a little if our grub supports it. So that is base stone and PDK whatever, like key derivation function. And the question is, do we limit this? I mean, theoretically, we could wire that to the installed memory. Like if you don't have 1 gig of memory, like on your P3, then you're not getting that. Key derivation function. That is this one. Maybe we add a comment here. The thing is, I mean, not like if you're installing this on a PS3 with just 256 megabyte of memory, of which you can't even use all. I'm not sure if we also copy and paste too much. Should we really support this to have less than stellar security? Maybe we prepare that here and leave it commented for that to potentially be needed eventually. Leave in the comments below. I mean, not that your Petit boot doesn't have support for that anyway, so yeah. Why do I have here to be? What was to be done? To be what? To be commented? What did I had here? Disable log steer. Maybe to be commented. Whatever I was thinking there. Anyway, that is the state of security, or the set state of security. As so often, amazing people put their time and effort in their over 3 years version 4 already at the end of the day. 3 years later, it's not shipping. It's probably not part of any Linux distribution, I believe. There are some Arch Linux or Gentoo. It's like, hey, you can apply some additional patches, but as far as I've seen, they're probably not in there. Maybe we are then the first Linux distribution to ship us. Like, would not be unheard of the first time that we ship the most fixed and secure state. Maybe I stop the live stream for a second. And wait for this build, not to, otherwise we have here 10 minutes of further build time. So yeah, let's pause the live stream a little. I go answer some emails or stuff, and then I resume the live stream like in 10 minutes when we also still need to build a Linux kernel for 4 minutes, and then we can test boot this in QEMU and see if that actually works. I would hope it does. What if I check error, especially LVM disparate alert or on error? Also, theoretically, we could add here already another comment because people are interested to make our installer more UI. I mean, theoretically, it would be a second one, which is, should we group that like that maybe? Which is avoid all user like input. So, I mean, the only thing is if you run manual partitioning, but maybe that at least the automatic case works or something. Avoid all user input. So installer works in UI. So something of that sort. Yeah, see in a minute. I like if for you it's instant, but for me it's 10 minutes of further build time. Do we have QEMU here in the history? What did I had here? Yada, some random stuff. Ah, right, this was with IO testing. Ah, this was also. I don't want that. Okay, we can manually remove it. So yeah, we need some gigs of memory. We don't actually need that much, but not that much. Let's test with 8 gigs and 8 SMP, KVM, EFI, no graphics, just for convenience, or do we? HDA, virt.io, why do I have kernel? Why did I have that here? No, who cares? So many kernel stuff we don't need. I actually don't need all of this, and then CD-ROM. So let's see what happens. Does it look about? Alright, I think we... Oh no, I think this probably should have worked like that. So, kernel equal to y is 0. And then also GCC 13, so that is, of course, latest and greatest. That installer in color. And then let's use the automatically encrypt LVM. Erase, oh, hopefully that was not the famous last words, but I guess it shouldn't. Let's encrypt all of this. Or did we? I hope I did. Let's maybe check that we have the build with Stormy mod installer. Deviation function, or darn, this was not new enough. Tiny fail, be with me 1 second later, because this will not be the new key algorithm. Then let's regen that. Cheers, coffee. Okay, no graphics, drive, HDA, serial, it looks good. Create the ISO and reboot. Yeah, and oops, no, I mistyped it. I need to fully automate this testing. That, of course, does not scale at all. Term install. Automatically fully encrypted, please. Yes, test. This probably should have... I believe I manually test build grub server ADM log grub 2 argon 2. I would... So it does that. Hopefully that is all. Not that is. Not all the latest and greatest algorithm. Test that again. BetterFS, and we are nearly good. All right, this is a bug I need to fix next. This is my... A week ago, actually, I forgot about this already. Did I document this somewhere? Okay, let's first do the other stuff. So Luke's crypt setup, Luke's dump def VDA2, and we got the key PBKD to argon 2 ID. And so the only question is, it's actually the, maybe we could, you know what, let's, all right, I skills it. Install that, all of it, and all there, and go to which algorithms. This is the common thing that the names are, so argon 2i, what did you just say? All the algorithm IDs. What I'm not the greatest fan of is always the naming. This is Blake 2 Blake 2 versus Argon. Oh no, there actually there's Argon and Blake 2. Let's hope for the best. Automatically configure grub. Slightly wonder what's with this boot variables. Actually, I thought it was working the other day, but ever is now about the other stuff. Yeah, so actually did I add this to the to-do? Maybe not. I've actually here some other major stuff. Maybe we actually do that. Basically, you see here, I could work day and night on Linux distribution stuff, right? It's a pity you can't finance your life really with that. There's more LVM clang stuff and also influquitting storm install early recourse. So if we unmount and boot, so this will kexec, that works, which, I mean, it is a good test. It's not a full test. It's not going through grub. That works. Also, there is one more. By the way, do I have this on my to-do? I probably should. Like, this is like really urgent. Also, bloody, I removed the CD-ROM group. I thought we don't need the bloody CD-ROM group anymore. But no, we have some CD-ROM group missing. Error there. Let's shut down, reboot, or let's shut down, doesn't matter, reboot. And let's see what grub 2 does with this patches. This was too fast. I mean, we could, okay, wait a second, we could chain load. So this doesn't say a thing. It also did this before the patch, which confused the heck out of me because I thought it's just some issue with the path tracer stuff. It's an also pro tip of implementation shittiness, imperfections and stuff, because it should previously, like if your grub also asks for path trace, but it shouldn't. It should actually early say, oh, this actually freaking works here. Yay, thanks for that. Shout out and credit where credit is due, I believe. That should be Patrick Steinhardt, I guess. And then the only thing is we need console equals dt1 to have terminal, this one. Yeah, so that works. There goes that patch. Then grub 2. Did I, by the way, add both already? No, I didn't. What is even with the other file there? What did I hook at? Right, this is to Lux 2. Argon 2. Commit this, imported grub 2, Argon 2, Lux 2, support patch, because nobody else cares. Why are we not #1 Linux distribution yet? I guess I need to work on an installer in perfect KDE support. What else was there to test? I guess that was it for today, right? So if you want to convert that would be Lux, let me look this up for you. I wonder if we should actually, yeah, I could make, and that is the stuff, right? Even though I implement, I research, curate, test, build, test, and stuff, there is still more to do. Like in an ideal world, even in our shitty text mode installer, we could detect old Lux formats, and we could have actually a conversion function there, right? Only if present or not. So that should be this here for crypt setup, convert, def whatever, type Lux2, and then crypt setup, Lux, convert key, def whatever to Argon to ID. So that's it for this video. I'm also rebooted. We can theoretically one more thing, which is let's test how much our GCC, so because this is GCC snapshot from the other day, 13/01/23/04/16, and so as we can check out, let's test. If, like, how much our freshly bootstrapped system actually freaking works, TM. Also, this is scrolling marginality is just because, I mean, it's not our fault, right? It's QEMU Linux kernel. Yeah. Serial console, default, goodness. So T2, let's emerge Lua JIT, or it's like basically just stability and GCC 13 and everything in between. But that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this and learned something. If you run full disk encryption, don't forget to upgrade your Lux2 and algorithm, certainly grab 2. And if your Linux distribution does not support any of this, then maybe it's a good time to share, like, and subscribe and upgrade to one of the best Linux distributions for most of the 30 plus supported architectures. I hope you enjoyed this and learned something. Have a good day and night, and see you soon for the next fun stuff to come.